I have not been very motivated this month for February. Not at all. So far I have completed I finished like one book. I am currently getting through 3 books. 3 books. So I had canceled my Everand, right? But then I'm looking through my other audiobook app and I'm not finding a lot of books that I own that I want to get through. So I was like, you know what? Fuck this. So I went and I canceled my other one, my AnyPlay, which I think AnyPlay is good. It's a good, like if it has a bunch of audiobooks on there, and it's good for say if you want to listen to how many of them in the month. It's $9.99. It is a good price, but I'm trying to get through physical books I own, and I was looking up ones and I'm not finding what I'm looking for. So I decided to sign back up to Everand. The only thing I would say I don't like about it is that the new system has it to where you can only unlock 3 books a month for like $15.99. So I'm paying $15.99 and I'm only able to unlock 3 books, which I think is not great. But I think about it as it's like $5 a book, basically. So that's it. Just I don't like that part of it. Like it's only available like 3 different ones. So it might not be something where I'm going to keep it. Right now, I'm just trying to get through as many physical copies I have, just lower the amount of books I have. That's basically what I'm trying to do. Once I get past that part of it, where I'm like, okay, less books, I may end up canceling it and then going back with AnyPlay again. Because I like AnyPlay. They're $9.99. It's not that much, and you can choose whichever audiobook. You don't have to do an unlock system. But I think Everand is better in a way of you don't have to pay for every audiobook. You're not Audible, because Audible allows you only 1 credit per month. Unless you go and pay how much a year and unlock basically how many audiobooks. Like my husband went and paid how much for the year. So he can have, I think he said 25 credits or something like that. I think it was something like that. So he ended up getting 25 credits so he can listen to 25 books within the year. Because he does not listen to as many books as I do. I could tell him I can get through 10 books easy. If I really am working at it, I can get through 10 books a month physically. I can get through read 10 books a month easy, and he's like, damn, so that's how we differ. He's a much slower reader. A lot of times he's listening to audiobooks when he's at work and stuff like that. So anyways, I am currently going through 3 books. So this one's on Everand, and I'm listening to this. It says on the back, discover the sizzling small-town brothers' best friend romance that went viral on TikTok. I can see why it went viral on TikTok. I'll just say that. I could see why it went viral on TikTok. Because as soon as this guy re-sees his friend's sister again, all he keeps thinking about is how she would look in his bed. And I'm like, can we please have some build-up? Some authors are okay with the build-up. It may have some sexual tension, things like that. That's fine. But I definitely think, I don't know, something's missing right now for me. I don't know. That's kind of how I feel at the moment. I'm on chapter 7, which I haven't gone to. Yeah, I'm currently on chapter 7, and at the beginning there was I think a little note or something in here. Yeah, there's an author's note. Now, it talks about the character of Emmy has ADHD. Okay. So far, I'm not seeing ADHD with this character. I'm seeing a woman who is dealing with PTSD. She, for how many years, has been on like the circuit of like rodeo and all that stuff. Like she's a rider, you know, like she rides horses. I don't know what, you know, rider, whatever it is. I don't know country stuff. So her name is Clementine. People call her Emmy. And yeah, she's been on this kind of like on the circuit for like 10 years or so. She's come back home because she had like an accident, and it's like she doesn't want to get back on like her horse because she hit her head, it knocked her out, and I think it scared the crap out of her. So that's why I'm going with the thing of like her having PTSD, you know, because you can have what's called CPTSD, which is like, what's the C stand for again? I can't remember. But it's like a different form of PTSD than what soldiers normally deal with. You know, like, because soldiers can kind of go back to that combat zone, and it's hard for them to transition themselves from soldier to civilian. You know, like, I honestly, I cannot imagine someone being a soldier for years, especially in combat. You've seen some shit. You have seen some shit. I can't imagine, you know, like trying to transition yourself. This is why you see a lot of veterans that are like, you know, have a lot of either PTSD or they're on some kind of type of disability, or you see some of them, they turn to drugs or something like that because they're, you know, the brain can only handle so much, you know, the brain can only handle so much trauma, you know. So when it comes to like CPTSD, it's very similar. Like say you have dealt with like a abusive relationship, things like that. You could have a similar PTSD to like say someone who's a soldier, you know, veteran, things like that. So with her, I kind of feel like she has like a PTSD where she fell off the horse. It scared her enough to where she doesn't want to get back on. She doesn't want to go back out into the circuit. You know, she's like, I've gotten awards, I've done all this stuff, and she basically wants to come back home. And so she goes back to her family's like ranch and all that stuff. And there she meets up with, you know, our Reese's. She keeps calling him Brooks. Yeah, she keeps calling him Brooks, but his first name is Luke. And Luke sees her after how many years? Like he kind of like seen her like here and there, like come back. But once he sees her again, he's like, oh wow. He's like, you know, my best friend's little sister is hot. You know, like she was 13 when he was 18, and she had a crush on him. And so she still like obviously is attracted to him. And so right now I'm at the point where I'm like, it's very quick. I mean, you're talking like, this is like, you know, not that much in. And they already were getting to the point of like kissing. And I'm like, it's a little quick. You know, maybe wait a little bit, you know, get to know each other a little bit, you know, that type of thing. So it's all right. It's all right. Honestly, I'm not really impressed. I'm not really impressed with the author's writing. I'll just say that. I'm not really impressed. It's okay. I only have like 3 hours and 30 minutes left on this book, I think. So when I finish it, I don't know. I might give it a 3. I think it all depends on how it lands, you know. But I will say, like, I'm not really impressed. I don't get the hype. So the next book that I'm about halfway through this book. So this one I'm actually reading on my Kindle because I can get through an ebook quicker than I can physical. So this one here is a part of like the same series. Like I went and read last year My Favorite Kidnapper. I freaking love that book. It was great. This one here, I like it a little bit less because I will say I felt like the characters got together way too quickly. It was like 30% in when they were like banging it out, and I'm just like, little quick, especially because it's like he's her boss, you know, like she's his secretary. And so I'm like, you know, you would think like they would be a little bit more leery about getting into a relationship, even though they were attracted to each other. He has a mother in here. Oh, she's a bitch. She's a bitch. She very much like wants him to get married, settle down, and basically, you know, like have a better job. And it's like, what this guy's doing is a good job. I mean, you're working with, like, he doesn't do like obviously construction and stuff like that. It's more of like, not really architecture, but it's like he's doing more architecture design, like where he is working with like plants, like where to go and put these plants in this type of design, you know, and all that stuff. The way he does it, you know, makes it look really nice and stuff like that. So he does a lot of different, like when it comes to like the visual, you know, when it comes to the plants and where the plants are going to go and all that stuff. So it's not like it's a shitty job. I mean, the guy makes pretty good money. So I don't understand why his mother's such a cunt. So yeah, she's nasty. And Magnolia, he either calls her Magnolia or he calls her Maggie. He tells her to call him Alex because his name's Alexander Bane. And so everybody calls him Bane at work. So she was calling him Bane for a little while, and then he was like, oh, call me Alex. So, but yeah, they already kind of like got together, I thought, a little too quickly now. And he seems way smitten, where I'm like, dude, pump the brakes, man. Reel it back. Because some guys, I feel like in the novels, they fall for the heroine way too quickly, and it's like, nah, man, get to know her a little bit, get to know her and all that stuff. She kind of dresses more old style. She wears like a lot of lace and everything. It's basically from like her family, like I think her grandmother dressed up like that, and she liked the way her grandmother dressed, so she kind of like basically wants to emulate what her grandmother how she used to dress and stuff like that. That's sweet, you know, like sentimental. And she roasts her meat. Like she has like meat that she buys a lot of, because her father is dealing with Alzheimer's. I never say that word right. Alzheimer's. Her dad's dealing with that. He pretty much has gotten to the point where he can't remember her at all. Obviously, you have good days, you have bad days. So she goes and she makes some sandwiches because they say like deli meat and things like that, because the different stuff they have in it, they're saying it could be linked to like to Alzheimer's, like it's a possibility. So she roasts the meat so that way it's a little more healthier for her dad. So she does the same thing with him. Like she'll bring him sandwiches, and it's homemade sandwiches. She's making these sandwiches for him, and Bane had no idea that she was making these sandwiches for him. So it's basically like he's a hard ass, and he keeps going through like all these secretaries, so he ends up hiring her, and then quickly like is already like attracted to her. And he's like, oh, I'm her boss and everything. But like I said, within 30%, they're already like banging it out. There was a funny scene in here though, where I would, maybe not funny haha, because it can be like, you know, scary. He's allergic to latex, so he can't use certain types of condoms. So she had these different condoms in her bag. I think she went to like a bachelorette party or something like that. It was some kind of party she went to, and it was like a gift. So she had them in her bag. And so they're about to like do it in his office, and she puts the condom on him, and he's not paying attention. they're doing it and he's starting to like get a reaction. So he's like, wait, I'm getting burning, you know, like his penis is burning. And so he has to like pull out of her. And then he realizes, holy crap, he's like, I'm wearing a latex condom. He's like, I'm allergic to it. So he basically had to tell her to leave so he could have like a friend of his come over to the office and basically, you know, I'm assuming give him like an EpiPen in the hoo-ha. That's what I'm assuming, maybe. And I thought that was like funny, but also kind of like, ooh, that sucks, man. That sucks. So yeah, I'm about halfway through, and I just figured that I'm just gonna go and do just a vlog of like what I'm currently reading and stuff like that. And the third book I barely touched is I ended up picking up A Rebel Without Claws by Juliet Cross. Now this is a spin-off series of the Stay a Spell series. This one's called Southern Charm. And I was not sure if I wanted to pick this up or not, because I'm not always a fan of like next generation books. Like this one here has Celine Cruz. Now that is Mateo Cruz's daughter, and Mateo Cruz is from the original series Stay a Spell. He was in Wolf Gone Wild. So it was him and, what's the heroine's name again? What was her name again? I forget what her name was. But anyways, I believe they had triplets, and I think it was like 2 boys and a girl, I think that's what it was. I think they ended up getting pregnant with triplets, if I remember correctly, and it was 2 boys and a girl. Yeah, they had, and this is the girl who's a part of the triplets. So she ends up getting involved with this guy who's kind of a troublemaker. He's a cage fighter. His name's Ronan. So he moves to Louisiana, and yeah, he plans to create his own team to lead into the ring. But when he sets eyes on sweet Celine Cruz, she immediately becomes a tantalizing distraction. So he's basically working for his uncle. I think his name was Uncle Shane, I think. Uncle Shane's mechanic shop. And he sees her, like, right at the beginning. Like, he's within the first chapter, he sees Celine, and he's like, he's got almost like punch in the dick, you know, that point. This is that point where he's like, holy crap, like, who is she? She's beautiful, you know? So he's already like physically attracted to her, but it's like almost like a you know, like sometimes when it comes to like werewolves, like you find your mate and all that stuff. I think that's basically what it is with her. It's like automatically he's like, he knows this is his mate. And she is an aura witch, you know. So obviously with Wolf Gone Wild, Mateo was a werewolf, but you know, what's her name, the heroine, I forget her name, dang, she was a witch, but she dealt with like spells and hexes and stuff like that, where Selena's an aura witch. So she is the same as, I believe, Clara. I think Clara in the original Stay a Spell series, I believe she was an aura witch. I believe so. So she's the same as her one aunt. So right now I'm kind of like putting this book on hold until I can get through these ones here. So I figured today, if I can try to get through the rest of this one, because like I said, I'm not really impressed with it. It's okay. I just want to get through it and just kind of like get it off my shelf. And then this one here, like I said, I'm about halfway through. I'm going to try to get through the rest of this one, so that way I can kind of like pay attention to this one, you know, really pay attention to this one. If this one is, I think it's on Kindle Unlimited. If it is on Kindle Unlimited, I may borrow it just for the fact that I can get through, like I said, I can get through ebooks quicker than I can physical books. And then I can kind of put in, like, afterwards I could put in all my little marks and stuff like that. Like, see, I already put in like a little tab right there. I put my little tabs in and stuff. So, but I decided to rebuy the Stay a Spell series for the mass market paperbacks, because I love, the only upside I love to mass market paperbacks is that it doesn't, you don't leave fingerprints on these covers. Like the indie covers, when it comes to like the ones that are printed from Amazon, I hate them. They leave so many fingerprints and they get like greasy and stuff like that. I hate that. So at least with like these ones here, like when it comes to the mass markets, or not mass markets, when it comes to like traditionally published ones, these ones here have a better feel to them. I feel like they bind them a little bit better. And then also the covers tend to be better where they don't leave like fingerprints and stuff like that. So yeah. Yeah, this one is, I think it's Union Square. I think that's the company. Yeah, Union Square and Co. That's the name of the company that that did these books. So yeah, that's what I'm currently reading, is these ones here. I was going to this month try to get through Patricia Briggs, but I'm just like, I don't feel like reading. And so I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just get Everand just so I can get through the rest of the Patricia Briggs series, because I can get through them better with audio. And oh god, I can get through them better with audio. And the other series, the Alpha and Omega series by Patricia Briggs, that's on there too. So I was like, fuck it. I'm just gonna go and just cancel the other one, get Everand back, and then I can at least get through three books. I'll try to get through three Patricia Briggs books in March. And then I can have a vlog for March for the Patricia Briggs. And I'll have to try to physically read some other books for Patreon and all that stuff. Oh my god, I went and I got this stuff underneath my eyes. This lady, I was walking through the mall and this lady was like, oh, here, come in and try our sample kind of stuff. And it was this stuff that you put under your eyes, and it's supposed to, like, she says it's got stem cells in it and all that stuff, and it's supposed to be really good for your skin and kind of help, give you more youthful, because as I've aged, I get like, I've got more, under eyes and all that stuff. Like I definitely have more lining around my eyes and everything like that. To where you look a little more tired. I have more of a hooded eyelids, so they tend to droop down a little bit, and I don't like that either. But I was like, lady, I am not about to pay $200 for fucking under eye shit, for the stuff for your eyes. And I'm like, yeah, it felt like tightening, but as I'm like throughout the day, I'm like going like this and I'm rubbing, and I'm like, god, I'm rubbing it off, and I'm like, it's annoying me. I'm like, I'm ready to wash this shit off my skin. It's like, it's irritating me. So I'm like, yeah. I had told her, like, I was like, you know what, let me think about it. And I walked away, and I was just like, hell no. Because the way she was doing her like sales pitch, it was like, oh, well, originally it's like $400, but right now I can give it to you for $200. And I'm just like, lady, I know damn well this shit is probably like $200, and she's just saying that she's giving me a deal. And it's like, no. I'm like, I will pick up some cheap skincare, cheaper skincare, like this one here. I got CeraVe. This is a retinol one. Obviously, it's for aging skin and all that stuff. But I'm like, I'm not about to pay $200 freaking dollars for just the stuff that go around your eyes. And I'm just like, no, it ain't worth it. I'm like, no. And so I was like, ugh. I hate like salespeople like that, where I'm like, look, lady, I don't have a bunch of money. $200, that's a lot of money for like just skincare. And I'm sorry, but I'm a cheap bitch. No. So yeah, no. So I'll update again later when I get through at least these two books, like this Done and Dusted and My Favorite Boss. When I get through these ones, I'll update again. And then maybe I'll try to do another clip where I can try to get through this one here. We'll see if I can do it. But yeah, that's it. I will update you all in a little while. Okay, update. So I finished off this book here. I honestly want to say, like, I did in my review where I said, like, this is like maybe like a typical romance where, I don't know, I just don't feel like there's anything special about it. Like, there's, you know, like, they get together, they have sex, happily ever after, and all that stuff. And I just felt like it was just meh, you know? Like, you get into a romance where you're like, there's nothing really terrible about it. It's just kind of, I guess you'd say formulaic, you know? Like, it's just okay, you know? So I ended up giving it a 3. It's okay, but it wasn't anything spectacular about it. Like, it didn't, like, it didn't reinvent the wheel, you know? Like, it's just a typical romance, some sexy times in it. He is a dirty boy, you know? But based on the cover, when you look at it, it doesn't scream spicy, you know? Like, that there just does not scream spicy. I really wish it was a different cover, you know, honestly, because it looks like an old school type of, like, cover, like maybe from, like, the 60s or something like that. I'm just like, this does not scream spicy. Or the fact that he's, you know, he's a dirty boy. He's like a former bad boy, you know, basically. And this one here was like, it was all right. I mean, I felt like it was too insta-lust. Like, he was interested in her, like, right away. Very much insta-lust, very much, like, I'd say insta-love too. Like, he fell for her, like, very quickly. And I was like, damn, dude. So yeah, very much insta-lust, insta-love, brother's best friend's sister, same thing, you know, all that stuff. And yeah, I do feel like, because she had talked about ADHD at the beginning, and I guess ADHD, which I have no idea about, that you have, like, sensory issues. And I was like, huh. I'm like, I wonder if I, in a sense, have a little bit of, maybe ADHD or something. Because sometimes I have sensory issues, you know, where places get too loud for me, you know, where I'm like, this is too loud, I need to leave. This is too loud for me. I get overwhelmed in certain places sometimes, but it's like rare, you know, I don't have it that often. So I almost think like maybe you have like a slight, you know, because I was like, oh, I didn't realize that ADHD had sensory issues. I thought it was mainly like you can't like keep track of like a topic, you know, you go off on something else, you know, that type of thing. But I'd say most of what she dealt with in this book wasn't, you know, it wasn't like, it wasn't ADHD she dealt with. Most of what she dealt with in here was definitely PTSD. You know, like CPTSD is complex. So CPTSD, I had to reread it again. Usually when it comes to CPTSD, it has to do with like, say you were in a mentally or physically abusive relationship, you're dealing with complex because it's happened to you more than once. You know, where PTSD, it's usually around like maybe one instance that, you know, you had some kind of trauma. It happened to you maybe once, but it was obviously a really big trauma response, to where that's why you get PTSD. It kind of brings you back to that situation. Where complex is definitely more, you've dealt with like years of abuse, that type of thing. It's a little bit different. So with her, I'd say she definitely was dealing with a little bit of PTSD because of her falling off her horse, and it scared her so much because it made her revert back to her mother, because I think her mother died of basically the same thing. She fell off her horse and she ended up dying of like a brain injury or something like that. And you're riding a horse, you know, especially when you're doing it on the circuit and stuff like that, it's very dangerous, especially like people who are bull riders, especially, you know, anything like that. A horse could kick you and kill you. I mean, the horses can be dangerous. You know, they could spook, you know, and trample you and stuff like that. You can get, you know, kicked in the head, you know, type of thing. So, you know, you can have injuries. And they, you know, obviously horses don't mean to do that. You know, they're not dangerous animals. But, you know, if you're around them, you can, you know, get into a dangerous situation. So I'd say she dealt with a lot of that throughout the book. Not ADHD, you know? Like, there were certain times where she was like, oh, she felt like her ADHD was flaring up, like maybe she likes certain fabrics and stuff like that. And I'm like, you know what? That's kind of autism too, though. I mean, autism, you know, is very much like a sensory thing, you know? Like, there are times like with people like with autism, they don't like loud noises, you know, so they like to cover their ears. Like for my youngest, she very much gets scared with fireworks, so I have the headphones that cover her ears and helps to where she can still watch the 4th of July fireworks, but they're covering her ears to where she's not having to like do this and wants to leave, you know. One year she had a total meltdown, and I was covering her ears like the whole time, and she was like, oh, I want to leave. So I mean, now I know, like, you know, whenever I go somewhere where I'm like, ooh, it could be loud, she may have a bad response to it, I will bring her headphones with her and put them in her ear, so that way it helps muffle the sound. And so same thing with, like, we go to the movies, you know, anytime we go to the movies, you know, I will bring, my phone keeps moving on me. All of a sudden, my phone just keeps wanting to shut off. Anytime I bring you know, go to the, you know, movies and stuff like that, I will bring headphones with me and stuff like that. That helps her with the movie experience. So anyways, for her, it's like she had sensory issues, and I'm like, I never heard that with ADHD, but I'm like, I guess it's true. They said, like, I looked it up, and I'm like, do people with ADHD have sensory issues? And I said yes, and I was like, really? I never even heard of that. I'm like, well, that's how much I really know about ADHD. So, like I said, it was like a 3. It's okay. It's not something I'm gonna keep. Right about now, I decided to go into another book that I've had on my shelf for a little while. This is My Roommate is a Vampire. And I'm about like halfway through. It's really interesting because this vampire he needed a roommate basically to help him with the current societal things, you know, like stuff that, like, he's been asleep for like 100 years, you know. I guess he was in some kind of coma or whatever it was. Something had put him into a deep sleep where he had missed like 100 years. So he wants a roommate to help him navigate the world now. And so he ends up realizing that it was a female, and so he was like, he wasn't expecting a female. So within like a couple of weeks of her moving in, she ends up figuring out he's a vampire, and that kind of freaks her out at first. And she leaves for like a few days, but then he like gives her this letter, like, you know, if you want to leave, he goes, I can understand. But he seems like a very much a gentleman, like the gentleman from, like, you know, you would expect from like 100, 200 years ago, the ones that are very respectful. Obviously, it's not always the truth that, you know, when it came to like 100 years ago, 200 years ago, there were men who treated women like fucking property. But I'm saying, like, what you would typically consider a man back in that day who has more formal ways of like being around a woman and things like that, you know. So she moves in, and once she figures out he's a vampire, you know, she's like, okay, well, he says he's not gonna hurt me. Maybe she's a little naive, you know. But I'm like, you know what? It's not bad right now. It's not bad. It's not terrible. They do a lot of letters to each other. Like, it's a lot of, what's that term where it's like they do letters for each other? There's a certain term for it. I can't remember the name of it. But they do a lot of letters back and forth. Or he learned how to use a cell phone because the person who, Reginald, the person who's like, kind of like almost like his, I wouldn't say sidekick, but like it's helping him navigate a little bit of the world. He had obviously got him a cell phone. She's telling him, hey, you know, if I move back in, I need to get Wi-Fi. And he's like, what's Wi-Fi? You know, he very much doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know how coffee shops work. He doesn't know anything. So she's basically teaching him all this stuff. And while she's teaching him these things of like the modern world, they start to fall for each other. And, you know, all that stuff. And right now it's not bad. It's kind of sweet, you know, like he's very sweet with her, and you could tell like he's a little nervous, and, you know, like how to, you know, communicate with her, and not knowing all of the little things of like Reginald had said to him, like, oh, you're into her. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, into her. I'm not into her. And so he's like, no. It's a phrase of speech, you know, they use now where it's like basically saying that you're interested in her. You want to date her. And he's like, I do not want to date her. And you know, like like I said, he's very proper, you know, the way he speaks, his language, the way he dresses, the way his apartment basically was, you know. And it's in one of those like apartments where it's in, I think, Northridge or whatever it is, or something. Like, it's a part of like New York where it's like rich area, you know, where it's like wealthy. So she was like, you want me to pay you $200 a month for this place? And she's like, are you kidding me? That's way too cheap, you know. And so he's like, well, what's the proper, you know, like, how much should it be? And she's like, more than 200. She's like, I don't want to tell him how much it will be because, you know, I don't want him to, she didn't want him to like jack up the rent, you know. So she's like, $200? Fuck yeah, I'll take that place. You know. So it's not bad. No, not New York, they're in Chicago. That's where they're at. They're in Chicago. And, you know, of course, Chicago is expensive too. But I guess it's in a nice area of Chicago. Like I said, more richy area. And his family is from New York. They're in New York. And his mother basically wants to marry him off to like some woman. And he's like, I don't want to marry her. I'm not interested in her. And so he kind of has to kind of like fight with that, like his mother's, you know, involvement in his life and everything like that. And then he's starting to like her, starting to be obviously attracted to her. And so it's not bad. So far it's not bad. I might delve into the second book because they do have the audiobook for the second one. I might delve into that one. So far it's decent. It is decent. I'll see if maybe it picks up a little bit more for me. It was a little slow going at first, you know, because they weren't really interacting with each other a little much toward the beginning. You know, it was very much like him leaving her notes and letters and texts and things like that. But they started to get to know each other a little bit more, like as they were communicating with each other. And definitely more than maybe what he anticipated, you know. And obviously he is starting to get attracted to her. Like, he obviously likes her, and she starts to feel like an attraction toward him too. So even though she was a little scared when she found out he was a vampire, but once he, you know, started talking to her a little bit more about it, you know, she got a little bit more comfortable. And his friend there, which not really his friend, he says, I hate him, you know, but I'm like, he does kind of help him and stuff. Reginald, he's funny. He's interesting. His mother seems like she, you know, a stuck-up person, you know, stick shoved up her ass kind of thing, you know. But stuff where it's, like I said, it's not bad. It's supposed to be like a romantic comedy. It does have like a few funny things in it, but I wouldn't say like I'm chuckling at it. I'm just like, it's amusing. I'll just say that it's amusing. But yeah, that's so far, that's where I'm at right now with this here. I'd say I like this book a little bit more than that other book, you know. And with that other book that I was reading, I'm almost done with that one, My Favorite Boss. I'm almost done with that one. And then as for the A Rebel Without Claws, I think that's called, by Juliet Cross, they do not have that on Kindle Unlimited. So I think what I'll end up doing is either if it's not available through like purchase through Kindle, because I might just purchase it if it's like, you know, not that bad, or I'll just physically read it. But it's probably going to take me longer to do. So I may have to buckle down and just stick with that one. Like once I'm done with my other books, I may have to just buckle down and just stick with that one and just kind of like forego, you know, like any of my YouTube watching time, any of my TV watching time. I may have to forego that for how many days to try to buckle down and get through that book. So that way I could post this on the time I want to post this, you know. But yeah, that's it for now. I will update you all later. Okay, update. So I finished off My Favorite Boss. This one here, I liked it, but I will say there were issues I had with it. One of them was I felt like the characters got together like way too quick when it came to banging it out. with her other book, the previous one, My Favorite Kidnapper, it was a little bit different scenario for me. So it's like, I think when you have like different scenarios, it's okay. Like with the other one, the one guy, he had kidnapped the heroine. And you think like, oh my God, he kidnapped her. But it's like, she wasn't really mad about it, you know? I'll say that. She wasn't really mad. She's kind of mad, but then she kind of got over it quickly. So that was kind of like a different scenario. I think it's when something like that, it's like you can kind of expect that there's going to be like maybe more of sexy times toward the beginning part. But I'd have to say, like, I don't remember it being quick. I think it was like 50% in when they did have sex. Where with this one here, it was like very quickly he was already attracted to her. As soon as he interviewed her, he was already attracted to her. And they, worked well together. And then it was like 30% in and they're already banging it out. So toward the end of this book, like I think it was maybe like around a little bit past halfway, and he was asking her to marry him, and I was like, damn, dude, that's way too fast. And then, she agrees, but then it's like the whole hiccup of like the conflict in here, which I thought was stupid, was the fact that the conflict was, oh, well, he's not sure he can love her. And it's like, well, if you're willing to marry her, that you obviously care about her, you obviously realize you care about her, you obviously realize that you don't want to live without her, might you think that it could be love? I mean, since I know, like, he never really was given love when he was growing up, because, like I said, his mother very much was a cunt. And the way the mother was, is like she valued money, like monetary and status. And that to me is just so shallow. It's so vapid, that your value, that you serve everybody is through monetary and status. It's such a shallow life. So for him, he could not stand his mother. His mother was constantly like in his business. And so for Magnolia, my alarm went off. For Magnolia, she went and would help him kind of like steer away from his mother. Like if his mother showed up, Magnolia would like let him know, like, hey, your mom's coming up, hide. So she would like help him. And so he got to a point where he's like, I don't give a shit like what my mother thinks, I want to be with her. He wants to be with Magnolia. So that whole conflict of like toward the end where he's like, I don't think I can love it. I'm like, oh, bullshit, buddy. You fucking love her. You love her. Don't act like you don't. You love her. And there was a sad part in here because her father, throughout this whole book, her father has Alzheimer's, and he's forgetting a lot and he's sleeping a lot. So it's like, it's kind of like, obviously he's nearing his end of his life. And so at the end of this, her father passes away. While she's in the hospital, she finds out she's pregnant. And I'm just like, I don't know. I hate that whole thing of like, oh, even though she was on birth control, I think she said she had an IUD, she still gets pregnant. And I'm just like, I know people are going to be like, well, you could still get pregnant with birth control. I get it. It's not 100% effective. But I was like, it was just such a, I don't know, easy thing to write as an author. To write, oh, this character's pregnant, so they're definitely going to get married. And I'm just like, really? Why did we need to go down that route? I mean, I love Secret Baby. Don't get me wrong. I do love Secret Baby. But it just felt like it was just such an easy thing for the author just to write it in. I'm like, just make it where she's pregnant. And I'm like, yeah. And so the conflict for her of like why she wasn't sure she wanted to be with him is because he had told her, oh, he doesn't think he can ever love. Lie. Lie. Just because you were not given love does not mean that you cannot give love. Okay? That's a fallacy. Anybody who says that it's lies. Just because you were not given love as a child doesn't mean that you cannot give it. Okay? I felt like when I was growing up, I was not given a lot of affection, so it took me a little bit to get comfortable around other people to give affection. But once I do, I give affection all the time, It's something that I try to show others, is that I care, is that by giving them a hug, by, showing them that I'm there, to listen and things like that. I'm showing that I love and care about this person. I may not say the words because words become meaningless after a while. It's actions that, really show you how you are characterized. People lie all the time and say like they could love this person. It's acts of love that is more important, to me. So for the fact that it's like, he's like, I'm not sure if I can love it. I'm like, no, you're doing acts of love. He's performing acts of love with Magnolia all the time. So that just clearly shows he does love her. So that conflict I thought was just very weak, very weak. And, once he finds out she's pregnant, he's like all in and everything. And that was like happily ever after. And then it shows kids. So I'd say like, if you're not into that type of thing, that you may not be into this book, because that's what it pretty much showed. I still give it a 4. I still enjoyed it, but there were, like I said, those little hiccups to me that I felt like it was a bit weak writing right there. Just a bit weak. So, yeah. I still enjoyed it, but not as much as My Favorite Kidnapper. I loved My Favorite Kidnapper. I thought it was, 5 stars. I love that one. So, I am a little more than halfway done with this one here. My Roommate is a Vampire. So far, I am enjoying this book. I am enjoying it. I would say I don't love it, but I do really like it, because I think about it as this. This is one thing. If you're a historical romance fan, I'd say you probably would like his character, because he very much reminds me of that, of a man, because he's been asleep for 100 years. So you're talking like, if this is like, let's see, modern day, this book came out in, I think, 2023. So you're talking like, if he maybe fell asleep in the 1923s, 1923, woke up in 2023, much has changed. A lot has changed. So because I love historical romances, I'm kind of reminded of this in here, where she's a modern girl, he's been asleep for 100 years. So kind of think of it as a man in like the early 1900s being thrust into modern times. There's things that he's not going to know, but the way he presents himself, the way he, his character and everything, he very much is a gentleman, because there's things that she's teaching him about the modern world, like Instagram, social media. He goes, why do you need social media? And I'm just like, same, dude. I understand where you're coming from. I'm like, I understand where you're coming from. It's kind of like, there's things that were way different back in that time. Like, we didn't socialize through internet, there's other ways that you had to socialize face to face, and actually talk to this person, converse, and he writes like in a diary. And so I think that's really cool, because usually back in that day, like, more people wrote in diaries and things like that. So I really like that there's that aspect in here where he's writing his diary. And then also he's asking like advice from, his helper, who is another vampire. And he just recently wrote to the lady where his mother wants, his mother wants her, or wants him to marry her, to marry this Esmeralda lady, but he's not interested in her. So like one part he says, "Dear Esmeralda, I am in receipt of your most recent correspondence. As a rule, I am loath to repeat myself, as doing so is generally a waste of time. However, your latest missive shows me I have no choice. As I have said multiple times before, to both you and my mother, I do not believe a marriage in which one partner is an unwilling participant would be a happy one. Additionally, since my last letter to you, I have developed feelings for someone else. I doubt anything will come of them for a variety of reasons I will not bore you with. Either way, you deserve far more than marriage to a man who pines for someone else. I will not sentence you to a life of that kind of misery." And so he says, "It has been over 100 years since we last spoke in person, but I remember you not only as a reasonable woman, but also as an admirably independent one." Jesus, why is that so hard? You cannot possibly want an arranged marriage to a man who doesn't love you. Please help me convince our parents this plot of theirs is the mother of all bad ideas. So I like the fact that he's telling her like he's not interested in her. He's told her several times he's not interested in marrying this Esmeralda. And so he's trying to tell her now, like pleading to her, like, please, like, tell our parents, like his mother, her obviously parents or parent, to stop trying to, get us together when he's starting to have feelings for his roommate. So I do like that aspect to it, is that he does write these letters and he goes and he writes in his diary and things like that. I do like that aspect to it. I'd say the one thing I don't like about this book is I hate the text messaging. I hate the text messaging because when the person is going over the text as they're reading it for the narrator, whenever you have like emojis, let me see if I can find it. Where is it? Here we go. Here's some text messages. So visually, you can see they have the little eyes, So the narrator is doing every little emoji, So she'll say, "Oh, thank you," happy face emoji. And then the other one's like, "But hey, why do you suddenly care about your clothes?" Eyes, it's like she'll say like eye roll emoji. I don't know if this is eye roll emoji, but this is like you're like watching like wide-eyed, So she did it for every time and I'm just like, I hate that. So I'm like, I really wish that authors would not do text messaging with emojis. It's annoying because when the narrator starts to say it, I'm just like, I'm like, it's supposed to be a visual thing, not a speak to text thing, when it comes to like, you're explaining what this emoji is. I hate that. So I'd say that's the downside to this book when you listen to it on like Audible, on an audio format, is the fact that the narrator is explaining the text message emojis. It's fucking weird. So I say like this is not bad because you could see the characters starting to fall for each other. Like this is like a slow burn. Like this is definitely not more of a slow burn. If you like slow burn, you probably like this one. But it's one of those ones where he's falling for her, but he doesn't want to admit to her like that he's falling for her and he's having feelings for her. Especially because he's a vampire. He knows that she is probably not going to be interested in him because she was freaked out before. So, but she looks at him like he's gorgeous. He's a gorgeous man, and she's developing feelings for him, and she doesn't want to admit that she's developing feelings for him. So, so far it's pretty good. I will say I ended up skimming a little bit just to see if there is a sex scene. There is a sex scene in here. So, but I will say, I think there's only like one, maybe two sex scenes in here toward the end. So, like I said, it's more of a slow burn. There is sex in here, but it's not like a ton. It's only like maybe like one or two sex scenes, if that. I think there might be just one. And that's it. So it's not like overly sexual. I'll just say that. This is not like an overly sexual book. But yeah, I am enjoying it. I will say I am enjoying it. So more than like what for the beginning. I wasn't sure if I would want to listen to the second one, but now I'm like, I'd actually listen to the second one, because this one here, it's getting better as it progresses. I think if I physically read this, I might have DNF'd it. Because I am listening to the audiobook, I'm giving it more of a chance. And so I'm like, no, it's getting better. Like, you could see like the build up with their relationship. Before it was just like, they kind of gave each other more of a wide berth, but now it's like, you could see the attraction, you could see, things going in that direction, So that's what I like, is that he had basically said in one of his journal entries, let me see if I can find it, how there was a section in here where he was looking through Instagram, at her Instagram, and came across a picture of her in like basically a bikini. And so he was just so like, I would say like kind of mad the fact that other people were able to see her in basically almost naked. In his eyes, it's almost naked. So he had said, every time I close my eyes, I can still see her beaming up at the camera in that flimsy excuse for clothing. Her hair a golden halo around her head, her body backlit and glorious. I am filled with rage at the photographer for taking that picture, at Cassie for allowing so many others to see her practically naked, at all 7 billion people on this planet who have the theoretical ability to see that picture of her with a few simple clicks of a button, at myself as I sit hunched over my desk. I try desperately to ignore the urgent, now familiar ache in my loins as Cassie sleeps innocently, unknowingly in the next room. I clutch at what remains of my sanity and of my self-control, because God's thumbs, when I saw that picture of her, all I could think was how badly I want Cassie to wear that bathing suit of hers for me. If I had been there when it was taken, it would have been all I could do to keep myself from easing those delicate little straps of fabric off her shoulders and bearing the rest of her beautiful body to my eyes. I am a reprehensible creature. He's like, basically like hating himself for like, how could I think of her that way? And it's like, that's a gentleman. To me, that's a gentleman. That's a man who respects her as a woman, that he's like, how dare I think of her in that lustful way, Says Cassie is a young, vibrant, human woman who does not deserve to be the object of my lustful imaginings. Tomorrow, she's taking me shopping to help me pick out what she insists will be a more suitable casual clothing than my current wardrobe. And so she's going to take him clothing shopping. And so first she has her one friend who's a gay guy come with her, but then he has to go and do something for his work because he's a lawyer, and so it ends up being just her and him. And so there was definitely some tension, sexual tension, when she had showed her like him in casual clothes and stuff like that. Or definitely was sexual tension. So it's building up. It is building up, and like I said, it's more than halfway through, so it's going to be obviously more build up, and then finally, that'll happen, you know. But so far I am, like, the more I'm listening to it, the more I am enjoying it. So I think I'd probably, like, the way it's going now, I'd probably give it like a 4. You know, at first I was like, let me give this one a 3 too. But I definitely would put it up to like a 4 right now. As for this one here, I don't think I'm going to finish this one off in this vlog. I think I'll end up making a different vlog for this one here, kind of give my full thoughts on that one. And if I'm reading anything else, I'll add it into my next vlog. But I think I'm going to do that. I think once I get done with this book here, that'll be it for this one here. And then I'm going to go and try to do another vlog reading this because, like I said, this is not available through KU. I looked at the price. It's like $10 and I'm like, not paying $10 for the ebook. So I will just physically read this one. I know, such a hardship for me, but yeah, I definitely need to get to this one and get through it. So that's what I have so far with this update. So I will do one more update with this and that'll be it. So I will talk to you all later. Okay, last update. So I finished this book off, and I'm going to give it a 4. I did like it. I didn't love it, but I did like it a lot. You had, like I said, I definitely felt like this is a slow burn, where the relationship between them built the more they're around each other. And there was a part like toward the end where his mother had got herself involved, and the heroine had, you know, did things to help him out. And it looks like, from what I'm assuming, it looks like that she might get turned into a vampire, you know, so that way, you know, she could be with him for, like, you know, forever. That's what I'm assuming, is that he's probably going to turn her into a vampire. But I'd say, like, for, I think it was, the way it was is, in order for him to orgasm, he had to go and, like, use blood, you know? So I don't know how it works when it comes to, like, say if she turns into a vampire, if he could still bite her as a vampire. I don't know how that works, because everybody's different, you know, like when it comes to, like, vampire stuff, you know, some will say, like, oh, you know, you could bite each other and still have, you know, that, and then some no, so I don't know. But, you know, I think it was pretty good. I definitely will check out the second book in the series. It's a different, I'm assuming it's different people. I think it is. I think it's different people. I think these might be standalones, but don't quote me on it. I think they might be standalones. I don't know who's the second one in it, but I would like to see Reginald, you know, the guy who was, like, his helper in here. I would like to see him find a romance, because he was funny. He was funny, and he definitely was more, obviously he was more updated with how people speak and all that stuff, because he's been awake this whole time. So obviously he had like, over the years you learn to develop certain slang, you know, for whatever the popular slang is. Like, my daughter, you know, my eldest would be like, Riz, and I'm like, what the fuck is Riz? So she tells me what they mean, and I'm like, okay. Like, you know, that now that people say delulu instead of delusional, that type of thing. So you learn to pick it up over the years with this different slang. So obviously his friend Reginald, because he was awake this whole time, he picked it up, so that he was trying to teach, you know, obviously, you know, was trying to teach Frederick, you know. And so I was like, okay. So yeah, I did like it, but I don't think I like this book enough to where I want to keep it, but I did enjoy myself listening to it. I don't think I'll pick it back up again, That's what I'm saying. Like, I think I'll probably just end up selling this on my, what do you even call it? My Pango Books. I'll probably just sell this on my Pango Books because it's good. I think there's a rating system on there too. Like, I think I might rate the book. Like, I put my own rating in, so I'll probably do that too. But yeah, anyways, I did enjoy this. I'm now listening to a, another audiobook. So I unlocked my third book now. But they have these other things that are called unlimited. I have to check it out. It says unlimited, and I'm assuming if you have the subscription, you can listen to it, and it's an extra audiobook, I think. But there's only certain amounts of unlimited books. Like, some of these books are like books I never even heard of. Like, you know, authors and books I never even heard of. So I'm like, I don't know how that works out. I don't know. I don't, maybe they're like, maybe they're books by authors that a lot of people don't read. So that's why they, you know, have the unlimited, you know, option to them, is maybe they're not listened to all the time. So maybe that's why Everand decides to offer that up, you know. I'm assuming that's what it is, but I'm gonna go and see if I can listen to an unlimited one, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, so you can have extras besides 3. And if that's the case, I'm like, okay, then it's a little bit more worth it. But you'd have to find those audiobooks interesting enough to you want to listen to them, you know? But yeah, that's it for this one here. Yeah, like I said, 4 stars. This was good. When they finally get up to, like, you know, the doing the dirty, you know, that was enjoyable, you know? So yeah, that's pretty much it for this one here. I'm going to March, I'm going to go and listen to more of the Patricia Briggs. That'll probably be my 3 right there, for the audio version. So I'll probably do that. And I'll probably end up doing that throughout the whole Patricia Briggs. It'll probably be like, those would be my 3, you know. I'll eat up my subscription with those 3, and then once I'm done with all of the Patricia Briggs books, when it comes to the Mercy Thompson series, I'll end up getting into the Alpha and Omega series and kind of get through those ones right there too. And then after that, then it's pretty much like whatever I have physical copies of, I'll get through it. So but yeah, that's pretty much it. So have yourselves a good day, take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and I will see you all on the next video. All right, bye.